Welcome, time for some art fun. Today, we're going to do a review of this 24 set of Kuretake Gansai Tambi watercolor paints, so stick around. You know, I really tried. I tried to resist getting these for literally years. I put it off. I would look at them and think, my goodness, these look delicious. They're just beautiful. I love these enormous, like twice the size of a full pan, basically, pans, even though they're not filled all the way to the top. There is so much luxurious room to move your brush around without having to dig it into a tiny little half pan. But I thought to myself, first of all, it's enormous. My art studio has so much stuff in it. Am I really going to put more stuff in this studio? And then I just kept looking at it and looking at it and looking at it and being jealous and being sad that I didn't have it and watching Doodle Date do a video on it. And just everybody has a video on this. But I really was doing a good job of saying, no, I'm not doing it, putting it off, until two things converged to sort of a, meta level requirement that I get these. It was just gonna happen. It was like fate. One is I got birthday gift cards, and I actually already did a haul on the gift cards that I used on art supplies, of course, always, and put that up on this channel, so I'll link it in the description if you haven't seen it yet. I'm sure you probably have, and maybe that's what drew you to this video, but if you haven't, I'll put it down there. The other thing that happened is I watched Sketches and Scrubs do her video on her favorite or most used cheap art supplies of 2021. And my goodness, if that didn't just push me right over the edge. And I finally gave in and got these beautiful, beautiful watercolors. And I will just interject here and say briefly, I really do recommend that you check out her channel. She is so amazing. She is a full doctor in the UK, fully a doctor. She's in the equivalent program of like a residency program here. And she is, first of all, looking absolutely stunning in every single video. You know I don't even show my face. You know I'm in my pajamas when I'm making these videos. Please know that anytime you're watching my videos, just go ahead and assume that that's what's happening. I'm in my yoga pants. But aside from being just stunning and obviously brilliant, she's a really good artist. I love her videos, especially the reviews, the hauls, and she has a bunch of urban sketching, especially during the lockdowns. I love watching those and rewatching them because I feel like I'm going out and about. She has a beach video that I watch all the time. So I just highly recommend you check out her channel and see if you like her. If you like me, I'm just assuming you'll like her. I love her and she comes over here. We're just there's a lot of symbiosis going on. So I'll leave it at that and go back to the paints. Sorry, sidetracked. I really loved them. I thought they were super pigmented, extremely creamy. There were so many convenience colors that I really took advantage of in my painting that you'll see. I loved the bear. The bear was mostly the burnt umber, the raw umber and the burnt sienna in the bottom left of the palette, and just variations of that with the black. And I loved how the bear came out. And I have to say, I stopped and gave you a slow roll of the bear because I kind of want to do this bear again. I want to do this bear with one of my flat acrylic backgrounds, but because this is a watercolor review video, I was like, you can't, you kind of can't just use the browns and the black and then go off on your own and do whatever you want. You've got to use the whole palette or as much of the palette as you can to show them what it can do. And I do often do soft watercolor backgrounds, and you've seen them recently. I did a bird for my 2022 goals and 2021 wins video that had a very soft background that I absolutely loved. And so I just kind of tried to get into the vibe of that and do this one with that soft watercolor background that I like to do, but I kind of want to come back and do it again with my acrylic flat background because I'm very into that right now and I just want to do it. I'm really interested. And I loved how these lifted. I loved the greens and the yellows and the blues that I used all over that gorgeous background. And I really enjoyed how they bled together, how they moved on the paper. I mean, these are watercolor. They are beautiful watercolor paints and they do everything that you would want them to do. I really didn't have to do much of any mixing. A lot of my mixing I did just in that bottom row, which you'll see. Just getting that burnt sienna, which is very warm and very reddish. Honestly, it's almost like an English red is what I would call it, more so than a burnt sienna. Mixing that with the raw umber, which really operated like a sepia. There's like a very tea stain colored brown that I love, and I would use that raw umber to tone down the redness in the burnt sienna and make a mix of a range of browns. Normally I would mix green and red to make my browns, but I had every kind of convenience here, including a range of neutrals that I could mix together to make a variety of browns. So it just didn't really require that much mixing, which really addressed the only issue that I'd originally had, which was that this has no mixing area. The cover of this is a cardboard style, like a paper-based product. You're not going to be able to put water on it. I did do swatches in the cover because it has an area that's coded specifically for that, but that was really it. I loved these colors. They were very inspiring. I mean, look at this row in particular. The turquoises and the blues and the malachite and the pale ultramarine that I'm doing right there. That almost looks like a periwinkle, very inspiring to me. So I was having a blast making this painting. I will say a downside is the size of the palette. You can see how big it is. This is an 8x10-ish sketchbook that I'm in, and it takes up the entire side of the sketchbook. So it will take up room in your studio. If you're looking for something more compact and convenient, I would recommend something like my Prima Marketing Woodlands palette, but it doesn't have as much of a range as this beautiful set does. They really let me do what I wanted to do with this little bear, which was to make it look super fuzzy. And I actually, I often will post what I'm working on for the videos on Instagram in advance. And I, of course, posted a picture of this as a little preview of a review that was coming. And I did get a comment from one of my sweet, sweet followers on Instagram, who I also see in the comments here, saying, "You even make your bears look fuzzy." And I was like, yeah, of course. Again, what are we doing here? Of course I'm gonna make it fuzzy. And I totally, by the way, you should know, took a reference picture of a fox. It was actually, when I told my friend this, she was like, wait, what? I took a reference picture of an Arctic fox, and in the process of sketching, I was like, nope, this is gonna be a bear cub, and it totally is. And that's often what I'll do with my reference pictures. Sometimes I get questions in the comments about, do I use reference pictures or not? And by the way, of course, please enjoy this tape peel. Not as satisfying because it did leak under the tape, but that's not the watercolor's fault, that's the tape's fault. So don't blame the watercolor for that. And yes, I do pretty much always use a reference for an animal or for a person, but they rarely look like the reference picture in the end. Only when I'm doing commissions do I try to really stick with the reference picture and try to make it very recognizable as what I'm painting. And that's why with commissions, I request like up to 10 pictures of the subject so I can really be creative but make sure it looks like the subject. So the main thing to know about these paints when you get them, and I did know this before I ordered them, but you might not know, and if there's anything I need to not forget to talk about, it's this one point about these paints to make sure if this is the only review you watch that you get this. And that is that these are Japanese watercolors. So they are not your traditional American style watercolor where transparency is king and you need the watercolor to be completely transparent. That's not the game with these. These are definitely supposed to be more opaque, and the malachite and the light ultramarine sort of in the middle on the right, you can see just looking at them that they're more opaque. That's normal for these, that's to be expected. So they do lift beautifully. They're extremely creamy. They re-wet like nothing, like it's nothing to re-wet them. It comes in this beautiful box. There is no mixing area, so you will need to mix on a separate palette. They're just beautiful to work with. I didn't notice anything different about them from other watercolors other than the two things I've mentioned. That, I love how this bear came out. I think it's so cute. I definitely want to paint it again. I may paint it again. Here are the final swatches though, so you can see what I'm talking about. In the haul video, I actually did a set of swatches with a black line so you could see the opacity and the transparency for different colors. I loved making the swatches. They're a pleasure to work with. They're just wonderful. So if you have any questions, leave them for me in the comments. I really enjoyed them. I'm really glad that I got them. I love having them in my studio. I leave them out on my desk because they're beautiful to look at. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. If you liked the video, go ahead and leave a like. Don't know if you heard my dog snoring, but he is. I'm not cutting that out. And that's just like real studio life. And go ahead and leave me a comment. I love reading your comments. I love you guys. You make my day. I cannot tell you how happy your comments make me. You are so sweet. And I love how supportive this community is. I love when I see you guys talking amongst yourselves in the comments. So until next time, remember, enjoy your watercolors and create something cute.